how in the world are they going to pick an impartial jury for this Diddy trial? It's been plastered all over every media outlet. Unless you literally live under a rock, I'm like, there are people that would not be able to give this a fair trial. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. So happy to have you here today. I wrote out this whole entire podcast episode and said, wow, I don't have one reality TV story today. It's all about the A-list celebrities. Not to say reality TV stars aren't A-list celebrities, but there just wasn't a whole lot going on. Right before I jump on here, Bravo has this huge announcement, 4 new shows coming. So I'm a little bit miscombobulated. That coupled with the fact that I just got this new hair tool, if you're watching on YouTube, I like my hair somewhere between Farrah Fawcett and like cemented to my head, so I don't know at this particular moment in time if it's too like bouncy for me, but it also is the very first time that I've ever done this before. So if I'm grabbing my hair like an idiot, it is tickling the neck a little bit. So I'm trying. It's new. I'm trying to step out of my comfort zone. So miscombobulated because of Bravo and miscombobulated because of this wavy brush that I just got. But let's real quick. This is like a little extra pop, if you will. Bravo just announced a new Housewives franchise. The Real Housewives of Rhode Island is coming to Bravo. So it says, set against the shores of the ocean states, the Real Housewives franchise expands into the world of a tight-knit circle of Rhode Islanders who have deep community roots and families that go back generations, aspirational lives, thriving businesses, tangled family dynamics. You get it. It's like par for the course, Real Housewives. This is kind of surprising because I was hearing whispers, and by whispers, I mean just like random people on the internet saying that they were shopping a Chicago and a Nashville. I didn't hear anything about Rhode Island, so a bit of a pleasant surprise. Also, Ladies of London is coming back, which had 3 seasons in 2014 to 2017. That's actually where Caroline Stanbury got her start in the Bravo sphere. We all saw her on The Real Housewives of Dubai, I think. I'm top of the dome with this, you guys. I'm pretty sure that she was on the Ladies of London. So let's see what else is coming. There's more. A Valley spinoff that is also kind of like a Shahs of Sunset reboot, right? A lot of people have been missing Shahs of Sunset. I never watched it because I really only got into Bravo during the pandemic, and I feel like it wasn't canceled like too long after that. Of course, I know the big names. I know Reza. I've met Reza. I know Gigi. Reza was on The Traitors, all these other things. But anyways, it's a working title, The Valley, Persian Style. So we'll see. And then there's one more. Oh, this one's going to be good. Wife Swap, The Real Housewives edition. This was a rumor, and I was like, I don't know. I hear this type of stuff a lot. I don't want to get my hopes up. Literally think of like Emily Simpson from The Real Housewives of Orange County switching spouses with Teresa Giudice from The Real Housewives of New Jersey and following along that. That's basically what it's going to be. So super excited about that one. So I know that networks are always shopping new shows, pitching new shows, but the fact that we have these 4 plus the Next Gen NYC, The Valley is on its 2nd season. I really feel like we're on the verge of a new era of Bravo because shows like Vanderpump Rules, The Real Housewives of New Jersey, some would say Summer House. People are kind of wondering, like, where are these shows going? Some of them kind of do feel like it's ran its course. And now they're popping up with all of these shows. So it's like, is one chapter of the Bravo book closing and another chapter opening? Kind of feels that way. Those were not in my notes, so that was the top of the show rant. And now we're going to get into the pop 3. These are the biggest headlines of the week. Ryan Reynolds dodged questions about the Travis Kelce unfollowing, which I told you guys about last week. The internet was in a tizzy when Swifties particularly recognized that Travis Kelce no longer follows Ryan Reynolds. We all know what that means. We're old enough. We're in our 30s. Some of us, even if you're in your 20s, you understand when you unfollow somebody, it's because you want to make a point. I don't like you. I don't mess with you. You could very easily mute their page. You want to send a message across. Well, after attending Green Day's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony, Ryan Reynolds was there. He was signing autographs, and a paparazzi asked, "What happened with Travis Kelce? Are you guys good? Are you guys friends? How come he unfollowed you?" Journalism at its finest. You know, I know a lot of people have a hate relationship with the paparazzi. Of course, they cross boundaries all the time, but they're not afraid to ask the hard-hitting questions. Just walk up to Ryan Reynolds at the Hollywood Walk of Fame and say, "Why did Travis Kelce unfollow you? You guys good?" No, clearly they're not. If you listen to Seriously also last week, you'll know that I have a hate-hate relationship with the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was the first time I ever went when we were in LA a couple weeks ago. That place is terrifying. And whenever they do these Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremonies, it looks all glamorous. And it is in the middle of the day, but like go to the Hollywood Walk of Fame past 9 o'clock at night, you might not make it back, okay? I'm just saying that. So make sure you go in the middle of the day or at dusk when the sun goes down. Do not go there. Do not go there, okay? So Ryan completely ignored it, continued to sign autographs. I mean, are we surprised? No, not really. I feel like any celebrity, but specifically right now, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have a very strict PR tactic, and that is don't address anything unless it's on your terms, right? So we saw the SNL joke, right? That is kind of on Ryan Reynolds' terms of how he wants to speak about what's going on with Justin Baldoni right now. Blake Lively at the Time 100 thing, right? She mentions it there. So it's always when they're on the offense and not on defense. But of course, just to kind of keep you guys recapped, I know we've talked about it a lot, but sources did tell Page Six that the unfollow was tied to the fact that Taylor Swift was kind of dragged into this legal debacle. Reynolds and Kelce had followed each other since August of 2023, but tensions reportedly bubbled up during this Baldoni countersuit, where it was claimed that Lively weaponized her friendship with Taylor Swift. A source for Page Six said that Taylor really wishes Blake hadn't dragged her into the whole situation, but that they have moved on. Lively has issued a genuine apology, and there is no hard feelings. There's story number one. Story number two, jury selection for the Diddy trial started this week, and it's off to an interesting start. You know, coming into this week, I'm like, how in the world are they going to pick an impartial jury for this Diddy trial? It's been plastered all over every media outlet. Unless you literally live under a rock, I'm like, there are people that would not be able to give this a fair trial. But per NBC News, prospective jurors were also shown a list of over 100 names, okay? People in places that might come up in the trial. Not necessarily, 100% will, but they asked if they had recognized any of them or if it would impact their ability to stay impartial. The list includes Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, Kanye West, although, like I said, none of them actually involved in the case at this particular moment in time from what we know, but they're trying to see of these potential juries, how much do they know about celebrity culture, about pop culture? So how are they going to pick a jury? I have no idea. In the end, it will be left up to 12 jurors to decide whether Diddy used his fame and power, to sexually exploit women over the course of more than 20 years. So federal prosecutors claim that in their 5-count indictment of Diddy. He's been in federal prison. He's been detained since September of 2024. The quote that's making headlines this week about Diddy in this jury selection is, he said, "I'm a little nervous today in court." What happened was, it was nothing like monumental. Like I said, they're just picking the jury at this point. But the defense asked for a bathroom break, and the judge, suggested we should wait. We're going to continue to question the jurors. And then Diddy says, "I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm a little nervous today," and then allowed him to take a break. So per NBC News, One woman disclosed that she had liked a video on social media of a comedian who made a joke about Diddy and the baby oil, because when they did the raid of the house, they found like 1 million bottles of baby oil, right? She said she thought it was funny. She was allowed to stay. I don't know whether or not that means she's going to be one of the final jurors, but one of the potential jurors was dismissed from the pool due to smoking weed every day. During his questioning by lawyers, he said, I smoke marijuana personally for recreational use. He said it could affect my judgment. When asked if he could stop during the trial, which would last 8 weeks, he said yes, but he smokes weed every night, including the night before, and he was dismissed. So if you want to get out of the Diddy trial, admit to smoking weed every day. There you go. Last but certainly not least in this week's Pop 3 is the alleged beef between White Lotus co-stars Amy Lou Wood and Walton Goggins squashed. So in order to get you caught up on where we are, I have to take you to where we have been. So the season finale of season 3 of White Lotus aired on April 6th. And spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the finale of White Lotus, okay? So if you're like a month behind, get with it, first of all, but we're talking about it. So Amy Lou and Walton's characters were in love. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. The both of them end up dying at the end of the season, right? So they were doing all this press, and Walton specifically was posting all of these really sentimental moments and a highlight reel on Instagram, and to Rick and Chelsea forever, to Amy Lou, whatever. Well, fans noticed that he wasn't tagging Amy, or Amy was not tagged. Well, then it came about that they weren't following each other. So either a blocking situation happened or they had unfollowed each other, which is petty in the grand scheme of things. We're adults, right? But it's also telling in the year 2025, especially if you work very closely together with somebody, especially if you're the stars of this show, right? Like, it is a little iffy. So people were confused. Did something go down? We don't understand it. So then we get to this past week. Well, I should talk about the SNL thing. Okay. There was an SNL sketch where they made fun of Amy Lou, specifically her teeth. She didn't find it very funny. She thought it was pretty mean. And Walton Goggins is hosting Saturday Night Live this weekend. So Walton was doing an interview with The Times, and the journalist wasn't directly asking about Amy. He did once. He said, what's your relationship? And he said, I'm not going to go there. But then he started like in a roundabout way asking about Amy. Oh, I hear you're doing SNL. What did you think of the Amy Lou Wood, whatever? And he's like, we're not going there. The journalist kept bringing up things like that. So at one point, publicists were like, stop. And then it got so bad that Walton ended the interview. He got up, he left. That brings us to the Met Gala this Monday, first Monday of May, every single year. Fans noticed that right before the Met Gala, Amy and Walton had followed each other on social media again. Then Amy was interviewed on the carpet. We never saw Walton and Amy on the carpet together. We did see Amy and Patrick Schwarzenegger on the carpet together. So it's one of those things where I feel like if you wanted to see somebody, you could. If you wanted to see somebody, you would, right? So anyways, Amy was asked on the red carpet about working with Walton, about the finale. She said, I loved working with Walton. It was the best thing ever. We really haven't had a chance to catch up since the finale. And what I found really interesting about what she said in this interview, she didn't make it about her and Walton. She made it about Rick and Chelsea. She was like, yeah, we really haven't got a chance to like debrief after the finale about what happened to our characters, and it's just been such a whirlwind. She never said like me and Walton are working through some things or whatever. It was always about the characters. So what does it mean? Both of the actors following each other back on Instagram, I have no idea. Is either a public relations move, a marketing tactic, or they really squashed the beef. I don't know. I'll be very interested to see if Amy does pop up on Saturday Night Live this weekend. It would break the internet. Sure would. We're going to talk more about the Met Gala later, but I want to get into this week's deep dive, the Beckham family rift. I had no idea that this was going to be the deep dive. I actually wasn't planning for it to be the deep dive at all this week, but as I started to peel back the layers of the onion, I realized there is so much to talk about when it comes to what's going on with the Beckham family, David and Victoria Beckham, their children, specifically their oldest son, Brooklyn, seems to be at odds. Fans were really confused when Brooklyn and his wife, Nicola Peltz, did not show up to David Beckham's 50th birthday party. I mean, your dad and your mom are both very famous A-list celebrities. It's a milestone birthday. Your whole entire family should be there. So red flags are being thrown all over the field. We'll get to that, but first we have to go back to where this all started. Like I said, to understand this family dynamic that's playing out now in the press, you got to go back to 2022 and maybe even before that. But this is where it started to kind of play out publicly, and it's all speculation at this point. It's a lot of inside sources, but I think it's pretty safe to say that if your son doesn't show up to your 50th birthday party and you're an A-list celebrity, something is going on. And there were more than one celebration. There was more than one celebration that Brooklyn did not show up to. So in my opinion, that's not a coincidence. But before Brooklyn and Nicola got married, there was a lot of social media interaction between Victoria Beckham and Nicola, right? They were always commenting on each other. They were like, they put on a, I don't want to say, the only word that's coming to my head is facade, and I don't mean that because I do believe that probably at this time they were a big, happy family. But the picture that was being painted at that moment in time before they got married or even engaged was that it was this big, happy family. But it very quickly came to a halt, and people were like, well, this is kind of weird. Well, according to People magazine, after Brooklyn and Nicola got engaged, the wedding planning process and the details around that caused some major rifts. So Nicola's father, Nelson Peltz, filed a lawsuit against wedding planners alleging they failed to return a $159,000 deposit. In response, the planners filed a countersuit claiming that Nicola and her mother, Claudia, made constant changes to the guest list and insisted that Victoria Beckham be kept unaware of any planning changes. So I don't know the details of all of that, but just that sentence alone kind of reveals some personality traits and some perceived personality traits, right? So at one point, Nelson Peltz allegedly considered canceling the wedding, describing the situation as a bleep show. There was also some speculation at that point about a feud between Nicola and Victoria Beckham based on Nicola's wedding dress. She chose to wear a Valentino gown, and the narrative was that Victoria Beckham really wanted Nicola to wear a dress that she designed. And Nicola later explained, I didn't wear a Victoria Beckham dress because of logistical issues. It was no personal reason. And you would think, okay, like whatever. She's allowed to pick what dress she wants to wear. The reason why more people are kind of skeptical about this is Victoria maybe doing some subtle shade on social media. So she publicly was posting about how happy she was to be dressing other guests. It says, so proud to have dressed some of my favorite ladies and best friends for the occasion with heart emojis. People noticed that like in Nicola's wedding carousel, there was no photos of Victoria or David, no like full family photos. So while the details of it is speculation, I think it's safe to say that the pressure of a wedding, of a very public wedding, of a very dollar signs wedding, because I can't remember, but I do think that Nicola is like, her parents are like loaded, okay? Maybe caused some friction. So now signs of strain are continuing. We kind of heard that they had patched things over after the wedding, that in the grand scheme, it's really not that big of a deal. But 50th birthday shows up. Brooklyn and Nicola were absent. A source told Us Weekly that Brooklyn has been demanding special treatment from the Beckham family, which has caused increasing tension. It says David and Victoria are over it. They've thrown in the towel over the whole thing. Brooklyn and Nicola apparently requested a separate meetup with David around his birthday, but the family declined. Everything is drama, emphasizing the Beckhams' desire to treat everyone in the family equally. Despite ongoing issues, David and Victoria Beckham remain hopeful that Brooklyn will come around. I'm not really understanding this, what they mean by special treatment. They wanted this private meetup. David and Victoria didn't want to give it to them. And I'm just like, why? Like, go out to dinner with them. What do you mean special treatment if they request to just meet up? If there's like an ongoing family rift, just meet up with them. The other side of the story, the flip side of the story is Nicola has been talking to the press too, or sources in her camp, right? If you go over to TMZ, allegedly, she feels like David Beckham is this is a quote, narcissist, and verbally berates Brooklyn on the phone for an hour. So they didn't really get into too much detail other than that, but anytime there's a family rift, there's two sides to the story, and there's, the middle, which is usually where the truth lies. I think what's telling about the Beckham family feud is that not only do David and Victoria seemingly have problems with Brooklyn and Nicola, so does their son, Romeo. Romeo has seemingly had a falling out with Brooklyn as well. According to sources, it's over Romeo's girlfriend, Kim Turnbull. But this is interesting because when I tell you the details of this situation, you're gonna be like, well, Brooklyn could just be looking out for his little brother. Kim allegedly dated Brooklyn a couple of years prior to this. That's not his issue, says this source. Insiders say the sibling beef has nothing to do with jealousy, but rather Turnbull's possible motives for dating another Beckham son. Can't say that I blame somebody for having that thought. I mean, what is the likelihood that you date an older brother of a very famous family, and then a couple of years later you date the younger brother of a very famous family? But at the same time, in a family dynamic, if everybody has an issue with one person, based on my experience, 9 times out of 10, the one person seems to be the one causing all the drama. According to The Sun, this is Victoria's worst nightmare. The thought of any of her children falling out gives her sleepless nights. They say it's been difficult with Brooklyn since he met Nicola, and there's no denying that there was a family fallout over their wedding, but Victoria and David had worked hard to get things back on track, so this is a real blow. Stop right now. Thank you very much. Bad joke. I just have to sometimes. Stop right now. Thank you very much. Long live the Spice Girls. Anyways, you know what it's giving? It's giving Cyrus family dysfunction, which I think is actually positive. I mean, remember when we all went down the rabbit hole with what was going on with Miley Cyrus, Tish Cyrus, I can't say the name, it's like tongue-tied, Noah Cyrus with the boyfriend, right, who allegedly dated everybody in the family pretty much. The Cyrus family came out on the other side, except for Billy Ray. It seems like they still really want nothing to do with Billy Ray. But Mom, Miley, and Noah seem to be better these days. So I feel like there is hope. I can't look at David and Victoria Beckham in a negative light after watching their documentary. Like, you're telling me these two lovebirds that are dancing to Islands in their Stream in the kitchen is like causing all of this drama with their son and his now wife. I just can't believe it. David Beckham in his bee suit getting honey out of his backyard. Like, he's not starting any drama with his son. At least that's what I want to think. In my heart, all roads lead back to Bravo. Lexi Wood also once dated Brooklyn Beckham, and it's interesting timing because Lexi was on the Viall Files this week and she was asked, what is it like to date Brooklyn Beckham? What is that family dynamic like being around David and Victoria Beckham? Lexi said, those are the types of families that I'm used to, the A-list celebrities. I mean, she didn't say it like that, but she said, families that are in the industry, they give each other advice, they work with each other where they can, they're so close, travel together, live together, they do so much together. She said that mindset is your family has your back. period. They're a beautiful family. Victoria, she's the style icon. They're the coolest family. So thank God Lexi didn't say anything bad about them today. Otherwise, it would be causing more headlines. So we'll see how that all plays out. David and I met Brooklyn Beckham one time. I didn't. David did. We were on a train, and I don't know who he was dating at that time. Brooklyn was dating somebody else, but they actually were on a train to Paris with us, right? Or I can't remember if we were coming home or if we were going to Paris. But I remember we were getting off the train, we were in the tube station, and there's Brooklyn Beckham. And David is like the biggest David Beckham fan ever. Like if my David could have a hall pass, it would be David Beckham. David Beckham's also my hall pass. So like David's like, it's cool. I love him too. Like he's amazing. I love him as a soccer player. You know, I love his tattoos. I love his underwear ads. We love David Beckham in the Preston household. So he's like, I gotta go say hi to Brooklyn Beckham. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, I was kind of intimidated, to be completely honest with you, but also we were in the hustle and bustle of like a train station. It was crazy. But David went up to him, said hello, shook his hand. Brooklyn was like, yeah, cool, man. And then that was the end of it. So don't really have a positive or a negative experience. I would have to get David's opinion on that, but I'm not hauling him in here. Last but certainly not least for the honorable mention, let's get into Met Gala 2025. The theme this year was super fine, tailoring, black style. All I really care about in red carpet moments is where is Zendaya and what is she wearing and what does she look like? And 10 times out of 10, there's no notes. She looks flawless, baby angel on earth, has the best stylist in the entire world. But there was a little oopsie this year with Zendaya having a very similar outfit as Anna Sawai of Shogun. They pretty much wore the same white tailored suit with a white hat. I was like, oh, that has to hurt. I mean, I can't imagine. Think about how bad it hurts like when you show up. Dude, prom, so many girls had my dress at prom and I was like crying in the bathroom. It's not that serious. But imagine the Met Gala. Oh, you have to just be super distraught over that. Rihanna, pregnant with her third baby, definitely a highlight of the night. You always wonder what the Kardashians are going to wear to the Met Gala. And I have to be honest, extremely underwhelmed by both Kim Kardashian and Kendall Jenner this year. Honestly, they both look like they wear that like every Tuesday. Like I have seen Kim Kardashian in that leather strapless dress. I feel like I have seen Kendall Jenner in that blazer outfit at Whole Foods. Like it's giving not what I expected from Kim Kardashian and Kendall Jenner. I think Kylie was the best dressed of the sisters. Chloe and Kourtney are like, I'm out. That would be me too. I mean, did you see they basically super glued Kylie Jenner's shoes into her feet? And I'm just like, for what? Do the shoes not fit? Like if they fit, do you really have to super glue your shoes or your feet into your shoes? It was tape, but I guess like from the sweat or something from the heat, like her feet were glued to her shoes. Her team had to rip them off of her. And I'm like, is it worth it? It's not worth it. Why do you need to super glue your feet into your shoes? The Met Gala is made up. It's dumb. Everything is made up. David and I had this conversation the other day. Actually, we had it when we were on the Hollywood Walk of Fame because we walked past the Dolby Theater, which is where they have the Oscars. And I was just like, the Oscars is made up. Who woke up one day and decided we're going to give out awards for the best TV shows or the best movies of the year, and we're going to vote, and it's going to be the best because we say so. And then everybody was like, oh, please pick my movie. And then it turned into this huge thing, the Oscars. It's literally made up. Out of thin air. And that's how I feel about the Met Gala. If you're having to glue your feet into your shoes, we've gone too far. I know Lily Reinhart had some similar criticism whenever Kim Kardashian did the Marilyn Monroe dress, the Marilyn Monroe dress, where Lily was like, how much weight did Kim Kardashian have to lose to fit into this dress? Like, it's setting unrealistic beauty standards. It's unhealthy. And like, hot take, I agree with her. It's not that serious. It's not that serious, but in Hollywood, I guess it is. All right, guys, there you have it for this week's episode of MPT. If you have not left a review, please do so. A little 5-star boop boop, a little love you like a sis. I have heard some wild rumors about Bachelor in Paradise. I spilled that tea this week on the Patreon, patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. You get the Bachelor tier. If you want them all, join the Love You Like a Sis tier. You get all the tea all the live long day. You guys, if what I heard about Bachelor in Paradise is true, it's going to change the game. Quite literally, Paradise might be back if what I heard is true. I can't say it on here. I'm sorry. It's too scary. But anyways, if you don't want to hang out on the Patreon, I'll see you back next week for another episode of MPT. And as always, love you like a sis.